Meet the computer you can talk to. With Copilot on Windows, working, creating, and collaborating is as easy as talking. Got writer's block? Share your screen with Copilot Vision to help spark inspiration, and use Copilot Voice to have a conversation and brainstorm ideas. Or maybe you need some tech help. With Copilot Vision, Copilot sees what you see. Let Copilot talk you through step-by-step guidance so you can master new apps, games, and skills faster. Try now at windows.com/Copilot.
I spent 15 years battling an addiction. I started Cornbread Hustle when I was still drunk. So whenever it came to entrepreneurship, I just felt like that is what saved my life.
Look, Inside the C-Suite is about leaders and shakers and people that are going about the path a different way and helping our community. That's why you're perfect for this show and perfect for this audience, because true leadership is vulnerable, which you've just shown. Hi, I'm Christy. I'm your host for Inside the C-Suite, where execs get real about leadership, impact, and what truly drives high-stake decisions. I'm honored to have on the show today Cheri Garcia. She's the founder and CEO of Cornbread Hustle. She's so passionate about second chance hires. She's 40 under 40, 2024's Executive of the Year. I'm going to look over here because the accolades are so great, you guys. She's a TEDx speaker. You might have heard her. And she's actually invented a tanning bed too, but wait, there's more. She's been on the Steve Harvey show. But enough from me. Let's hear from Cheri. Cheri, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. Where are you joining us from today?
I am in Carrollton, Texas, so right outside of Dallas.
You're closer to me than I realized. I'm over in Princeton, Texas. So we will definitely have to do coffee. Cheri, thank you for coming on the show. I've known of you, but I got to know you or getting to know you, and I am so impressed with the little empire that you've built helping our community. If you could share with us a little bit about Cornbread Hustle, I would love that.
Yeah, no problem. So Cornbread Hustle originated as a Thursday night meetup for people coming out of prison to learn entrepreneurship. It was just a way to give back to the community. And that's what I've been telling people a lot lately, because people will tell me, hey, I want to make a difference. I don't know if I'm ready to jump out of corporate America, or how do I start a nonprofit? And first of all, I've never even started a nonprofit, so I don't know how to tell anyone how to do that. But I always just say, look, you think it's all or nothing. Like, just start somewhere and see where your heart is leading you. And whatever gives you a lot of passion and energy, start there. And so for me, it gave me a lot of passion and energy to help people coming out of prison learn entrepreneurship, because I have a pretty checkered past myself. For whatever reason, I still don't know the reason for this, because it was before drugs or alcohol. But my first arrest was when I was 15 years old, and it was for theft. And I got such a high from stealing. And my second arrest was for theft again, and I spent time in juvie. And I later on ended up being addicted to methamphetamines and addicted to alcohol. Very long story short, I spent 15 years battling an addiction, even though most of those 15 years I didn't accept that I had an addiction. So looking back, I'm like, wow, I was really struggling. So whenever it came to entrepreneurship, I just felt like that is what saved my life. It did work until it didn't. So getting clean from meth and graduating high school, having the focus of doing something that energized me so much. And you mentioned it, I invented a product, and I also worked in the newsroom. I just loved storytelling, and I loved entrepreneurship. And so I just had this passion to go into prison and help other people, their energy for good. And people who have checkered past, they're usually risk takers. Duh. And they're usually entrepreneurial. And so I just thought, you know what? If you're so good, I mean, at the end of the day, I guess you're not good if you got caught. But if you're so good at being bold like that, let's just redirect it for something good. And so I started having these Thursday night classes, and as time went on, as an entrepreneur myself, I was like, okay, so how am I going to make money? I didn't think about that because I was so passionate. I just wanted to do. And when I saw that there was a gap between, hey, this person got out of prison, but they need a job, and in between, they're passionate about entrepreneurship, how do I fill that gap? And so I Googled how to start a staffing agency. And I basically just walked through all the WikiHow. I think it was like 10 steps or something. And I Googled my way through this. But I have to say, I had no business helping others. Yes, I did help others. And those people are still in my life today. And a lot of them are doing really great. I was a good entrepreneur, but I was a really bad leader. I had mentioned to you, I had a 15-year battle with addiction. So I started Cornbread Hustle when I was still drunk, which is probably why my company is named Cornbread Hustle. Because I don't think in my right sober mind, I would think that I would start a for-profit banking on the success of people coming out of prison called Cornbread Hustle. So I guess it's just that whole God will always make everything right if you're called according to his purpose. And I definitely was called. He doesn't call the equipped, he equips the called. And he definitely called me and equipped me. But at the time, I was not equipped whatsoever. I was like Moses with the stutter. Like, why did you choose me? And I still feel like that today, Christy. Getting on this call, it was so odd to hear you say, man, this empire you built. First of all, like, I'm like, last night I was praying to God saying, I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I'm not on the right track. Like, I know that I have gifts, but I don't know if I'm utilizing them correctly. It is really hard to have thousands, and I mean thousands, like 40,000 applicants in our system. I only have at any given time 10 open job recs. And what I've just been trying to do is focus on community. So I brought back the Thursday night entrepreneur classes that I had in the very beginning that got this all started. And so we've been doing that every Thursday for the past month and a half. And it has just really blessed me. And it's really just reminded me that this life journey that we're on is about much more than what success looks like to society. It's about where your treasures are stored, and mine are stored in heaven. And so I'm just taking this journey one day at a time, and all these crazy things that I have done. It's just been the journey of trying to become and figure out who I am. It's not because I'm some dedicated, self-disciplined, determined, motivational person. It's literally because I've been on a journey seeking to understand who God created me to be. Because being intoxicated or on drugs since the age of 15 to 30, I've had to really go into overdrive to figure out who God called me to be instead of who I became after wearing all of these masks that I wore. And one of those masks being success. That's why I'm having to take that mask off and just be a little bit more into what can I do for my community.
And that's what I meant this morning when I said this empire you've built. Because look, Inside the C-Suite is about leaders and shakers and people that are going about the path a different way and helping our community. That's why you're perfect for this show and perfect for this audience, because true leadership is vulnerable, which you've just shown. And what you're doing for the community is going to far exceed your time on this planet, which I love and is super, super important. And you do a lot of great work. And I like the fact that it comes from a very soul place deep within you. And that is very, very given and seen. And, I hate that you came up rough, but I love that you did, because it's just the treasures that you're giving to the rest of the community. One of the things, Cheri, that I think is so powerful that you bring to corporate America, and I know there's some people probably cringing when you said that you Googled your way to a staffing agency. And that's the difference, guys. That's the difference in like wanting it and like taking the steps forward and doing it. Like, I'm so proud of you. But even just in speaking with you about these second chance hires, briefly when we met, you shared that you look at them, you look at each offense differently and how you could place them. I thought that was an aha moment for me, Cheri, because I've never really delved into that. Now, I know hiring veterans, for me, my experience with veterans is, they're always on time. They're going to get the mission done no matter what it is. They don't know how to say fail. But I didn't take into account the rest of that population that would be really great hires, which you work with. Could you share a little bit about your methodology or how you think through that? Because I know some employers need to hear this and think about the future of work differently.
Yeah. So I'll first start off by saying that just because somebody did time in prison or has a criminal record does not mean that they're ready for employment. I have done the numbers enough times and have been doing this long enough to say that if 100 people apply, we will choose 50% of those people to come in for an in-person interview. And out of the 50% of people that we offer to come for the interview, 50% of those will show up. So then we have 25 people. And of those 25 people, we will probably end up placing or submitting 10 people. So I am looking for the 10% that is coming out of prison and really had a life change, whatever that looks like. And we hire people all the time that still stumble and fall. I myself got a DWI whenever I started this company. So I understand wanting to change and trying to do better, but not being equipped yet to deal with all the feelings that come with making a life change. And so we have had people who have slipped up, and most of their slip ups, it's not what people think. It's not like, oh, they went and robbed a bank.
Right.
Or they harmed somebody. It's usually something as simple as I need to call the employer and say, hey, they're in jail right now. But the reason they're in jail is because they didn't pay a ticket. They're really struggling financially. And so they got pulled over and they had a warrant for their arrest. They're sitting out the ticket right now because that's better for them than to pay it. And we understand if you don't want to keep them, but we're advocating for them. And usually they're just like, oh, wow, okay, I hate to hear that. Sure, have them come back whenever they're out. And that happened to me a lot when I was on my journey. I think for about 2 years after I had quit using meth, and this was again around, I tried it in high school and I used it for 2 years. So 2 years after quitting, I was getting arrested so many times. And I had a gymnastics job. I was a gymnastics coach, and I would constantly have to tell my gymnastics general manager, I'm in jail again because of another ticket, because I racked up so many tickets that I didn't even remember whenever I was on drugs. That every time I got pulled over for whatever it was, I was already calling my job or texting my spouse at the time and saying, I'm about to go to jail. Here's what's going to happen. Like I knew I was going to jail, especially when 2 cop cars pulled up. That's when you really know, by the way. If a cop car comes, you're going to jail.
Whoop. Oh my gosh, sure. I'm over here. I was test driving a new car this weekend and got lost in the digital screen, looked up and there was a cop behind me. So not only was I completely embarrassed, I felt like I'm in so much trouble. I'm going to be, go to jail, and I'm test driving a car. So I can't imagine feeling that way and just knowing, right? Like the consequences. But a couple of the things and I love that you shared that, because I think a lot of times our perceptions are so close on what's acceptable or not. And then we do lack the human side of it. But there's such a gap in skill-based hiring right now. There has been for many years, but it's getting worse. And it's interesting because we've got all of these, the government, everything that's going on right now, but you've got everything from, is the person a citizen? Can they work here? We're willing to be okay on this offense or this offense, but not this one. And a couple of the things that you'd mentioned to me that was like aha for me was, hey, if they've got an ankle monitor on, guess what? They're going to show up. They're never not going to show up because they don't want to go back to jail. I think there's a lot of nuggets like that you gave that helps employers think of, I could take somebody with a record of X, or I could take somebody that's on probation, and here's the benefits, because I know that I didn't think about it the way that you presented it. So can you share any more on that?
Yeah. A lot of employers will be like, oh gosh, they're on parole, which the difference between probation and parole, for those of you who don't know, probation is basically what you get in lieu of prison. So when I got my DWI, I was on probation and I needed to complete probation in order to stay out of jail. And obviously, like if I revoked probation or failed a drug test, they could arrest me and put me in jail. Of course, with just a DWI, I'd probably bail out and just on to the next series of trying to keep my nose clean. But parole is after prison. Parole is when you get out of prison early, basically. So you have a 10-year sentence, but they decide to let you out at year 5. So then you're on parole, basically still in custody of the state for the next 5 years. And so a lot of people, when I say somebody's on parole, they're like, because they think like, oh my gosh, that means they just got in trouble. Well, not necessarily. They've probably already done 10 years in prison. A lot of my candidates who have a murder charge, and I know that really scares people, but let's say first of all, if they're out of prison, that means that it was probably a crime of passion and it's unlikely that it's going to happen again. Your very heinous murder cases are going to do life in prison without parole. So my candidates that have a murder charge, they're on parole for the rest of their life because they may have got life in prison, but they're paroled. And so when people think of parole, they think of really heinous stuff. Sometimes we have people on parole that simply have a nonviolent offense because they did 2 years in prison of their 5-year sentence. And so I just tell employers, look, this person does have a GPS monitor, or a curfew monitor, whichever one. The GPS one is they literally cannot do anything outside of their schedule without getting it approved by parole. I know that because I have to deal with it all the time when I have an employee that wants to work on a Saturday. And if it's not approved and on their schedule, they literally cannot go to work on a Saturday unless I have a discussion with the parole officer. And so I just tell employers, because people want to do second chance hiring, it's getting them past the fear of messing up. And so I just explained to them, like, a GPS monitor, you have somebody that has to be at work, number one. And if they miss work, they're in trouble. So the likelihood of them committing another crime is lower. And you have, in my opinion, as a leader, you have a person that you can completely guide and help grow into the employee that you really want them to be, because they're focused on you and only you. They're not looking for other jobs. They're not going across the street for $1 more an hour. Number one, they don't want to face the rejection or go to another company and possibly be let go in 3 months when they realize that they have a criminal record. So you have a person that you can completely invest in and develop as a talent. And I've seen it time and time again. I've reached out to former employees and made them job offers because I already know how great of a worker they are. I've already placed them somewhere. And there was one guy in particular, it was a $95,000 a year job offer. He was only making $65,000 where he was at. You would think that he would jump at the opportunity to take that, but he said, I have to be loyal to the company that gave me a second chance. I'm going to go talk to him about this job offer first. And I was like, okay. Well, turns out they matched it and kept it. So,
Love it.
Yes. So and that says a lot, not only for the person with the criminal record, but it also says a lot for the company. They liked him that much that they gave him that much of a raise. And this particular person, he did stumble even after this. So you can't give somebody a 6-figure job, a car, or a house and believe that this is going to fix their life. They have to work on that emotional stability. And a lot of our employees, after a family member dies, they just don't know how to handle that grief and those feelings. And so he did stumble into an addiction and he did lose his job. His boss did fire him and he did get back on probation and towing the line of going back to prison. But because he had the tools and because he's so plugged into Cornbread Hustle, I spent a lot of time helping him get back on track and working with his family members and just working with the courts. And fast forward to today, not only is he sober, but that boss gave him his job back.
Wow.
So it just, that's the worst that we've seen, that somebody has failed or not worked out. And if an employer understands that success isn't linear and we stumble,
Yes.
and sometimes just for people like me, stumbling looks like addiction, and it does suck because it can cause us to steal or make bad decisions. But you have to think about people who don't have that type of an addiction as a vice. There's some people who get fired over porn use. There's some people who get fired over an affair. I think we saw that happen.
Coldplay forever.
Yes. So everybody has their stumbling blocks and we grow from them. We
Absolutely.
fall, but we get back up. And so whenever you have a felony, people are so afraid of what your next fall is going to look like. But I just try to explain to HR professionals that everyone has that first big fall. So you can hire somebody without a criminal record, and their first big fall can be whenever they're working for you.
Well, and I think a lot of people have big falls. It just presents differently, right? And some of us get caught and some of us don't. And I mean, there's many people listening or that have been on the show that probably had one too many and just magically got home okay without getting pulled over. I always tell people, like, don't judge, because sometimes it comes down to luck, right? We all make bad choices sometimes. Well, and you've taken this a beat further than just, I mean, obviously you're so much more than a staffing agency. I mean, working with the families and the courts and everything that you just said, that's 100%, Cheri Garcia heart. That's your purpose. That's beautiful. Tell me about Junk Hustlers. So came across Junk Hustlers as I was researching this lovely person that you are. And I thought, boy, it just keeps on giving. Cheri just keeps doing more things for the community. So tell us about this lovely little business.
I hated starting that business. So I have the blessing and the curse to hear very clearly from God. And I am really good at obedience. I just now learned the whole trust part. Because I was so accustomed to pain, it was easy for me to be obedient and put myself through pain while just trusting that it's all going to work out. Even if my life sucks, it's going to work out for someone. So Junk Hustlers, I would say, was my last venture of obedience without trust. Trust that obviously I had trusted workout, trust that I would enjoy it.
Okay.
I didn't want to do it, but the signs were too clear and God was speaking very clearly to me to do it. And I just really did not understand why, but I knew that I needed to. And so I did. I invested $120,000 or so into getting all the equipment. I read 3 junk hauling books in one weekend. And just, man, it's a dirty job too. It's so disgusting. So my dad had a hoarder house. And when he died of addiction, I had to deal with his hoarder house. And it was just, I was so grateful that I had a friend that had a dump truck. And I thought to myself how bad it would have been to have to deal with just a random company with a dump truck. And I didn't want to just hire someone to just go through stuff like it didn't matter. I really have an attachment to things. I think I might have a little bit of the hoarder stuff that my dad had, like, because I just have a real attachment to sentimental things. Like, I didn't even want to get rid of his pajamas that he died in, and the EMT or whoever it was, I don't know, whoever takes his body away. They were like, yeah, I mean, I understand everyone grieves differently, but you have to throw these away. I was like, okay. But I started it without even understanding why I was doing it. And we get hoarder homes now. And I remember one of the first hoarder homes that I worked on, I found a bunch of army stuff and I folded it up nicely. I made a pile for the family to come back and see a pile of things that I thought were important. I saw old letters that the wife wrote to the husband while he was away in the army, old vintage suitcases. I mean, the house was so hoarded, there's no way the family could have gone through it. So I set aside stuff, and I did not know how I would continue with this business because it's a lot of work. But now I understand why I did it. One of my very first employees, he works at a construction company called Oak Cliff Building Materials, and they were trying to find new ways to bring in revenue. And he's an operations guy. And that's what I didn't like about Junk Hustlers, the operations of it. And so I practically gifted the company to them. I do own 50% of it until the original investment is paid back. But it was just literally a vehicle, quite literally a vehicle to give somebody an entrepreneurial opportunity that otherwise wouldn't have been able to do it. Going to these hoarder houses allow me to have the opportunity to ask the family if they would like this house to be repurposed for a second chance home. And so it's kind of a bigger picture goal of mine to be in real estate and provide second chance rental properties. And that's what my dad's house, where I'm sitting in right now, is. I gutted the house and I renovated it, and it will be a house for people who need a second chance after I get married and move out of it. So I'm hoping to duplicate that.
I'm in awe of you because you take one idea and then it bursts another idea, then it bursts another idea. And it's all from your heart, and it's all giving back, and it's all very tied to your very personal story, which I'm just in awe of you, because so many people don't, I'm going to call it downloads, right? So many people don't take the time to sit and listen and be at peace with themselves and get the downloads from their source, from God, from whoever it is that they get that from. And you've been obedient in doing that, right? And I love I have a ministry background, so a lot of what you're saying really resonates with me on like a cellular level. It's so incredibly beautiful. Cheri, what's one thing and I want you to brag on you for a minute, right? So this is my download for you. What's one thing that you know in your heart that you do better than anybody else?
The obedience part, you just said, like, take an idea and another one bursts. It's taking that step of action and obedience, knowing that the second door won't be opened until I walk through the first door. And I'm just really good at walking through that first door.
You're fearless. You're fearless.
I mean, no, I guess it's courage, because courage is doing it afraid. I'm courageous because I'm not fearless. I'm very afraid. I told you last night I was praying, telling God I feel like a failure, so help me out here. Like, I'm really good at giving back to the community and coming up with ideas and networking and all of that. But sometimes I'm not really good at translating it into, well, there needs to be a profit.
That's how we know.
Out. I do it somehow. I shouldn't downplay what we've done. Cornbread Hustle has done $10 million over the past several years. So it's not like I don't know how to make money. It's just more of, I'm just not an operational person. I'm really good at visionary stuff.
Look, I think a true leader reflects on their strengths and weaknesses, right? And very, very much knows it. So there's so much more to you than, and we've talked about so much, and there is a lot there. But you also tell me about this program you created for people in prison. It was like a 12-week kind of interactive program. I'd love to learn more about that.
Yes, it's the 12-week starting over program, and it's on prison tablets in various prisons. We're trying to get it into more prisons nationwide, but it's basically like what we're doing right now. It's me using my own vulnerability so somebody can process their own feelings without feeling attacked or without feeling shame. So it's 12 weeks of me explaining how I changed my life. And so in week 1, I'm like, hey, friend. And I'm in my living room with my dogs. So somebody in prison feels like they have an actual friend, not somebody talking down at them. And one of the things that I've loved the most, and it really, it causes me to cry every time it happens. One of those Holy Spirit cries where it just hits me in my soul. But every time I go into a prison where people in prison have taken my course and they're graduating and I'm coming in to speak with them, the first thing, always, every single time I go in there, the first thing someone says to me is, "How are your dogs? How's love? How's Cookie?" And that's what really warms my heart, because that's what they need. They need a friend. They don't need another person telling them how to live their life. And so in week 1, I'm like, hey, so week 1, sobriety is hard. And I go on to say all the ways that I was tempted and it was hard and it sucked. I talk about my own codependency and how codependency became painful for me. I talk about toxic relationships. I tell the story that I told you about the guy who stumbled but got his job back because I explained to them that success isn't linear. I just work
Yes.
really hard to help them process their feelings with curiosity instead of shame.
I love that. Process their feelings without curiosity, or with curiosity instead of shame. That's very powerful. I've seen your little videos and everybody's clapping and hugging you. It does feel very community based, but you're right. They need connection, not someone that's going to talk down to them. Just like our community needs to stop judging each other. We need connection. So that's what I think is so powerful about what you do. So is that another one of your feverish dreams and downloads that you created this 12-week program? Where did that birth from?
So you told me that you got introduced to me by a mutual friend. I
did.
was actually on a trip with that person.
Okay.
I was in Costa Rica, and
Of course.
I was working really hard. I remember even reading a book. I wonder if it's here. I think it was called Healing the Soul of a Woman by Joyce Meyer. And I remember reading it in one day when I was out there, because I was gripping on so tightly to trying to heal from, I was just in a relationship I shouldn't have been in. And I knew I needed to not be in that relationship. And I was making the choice to not be in that relationship, but it still hurt so bad.
Yeah.
And I was struggling so bad. Not to be sober, because I was already several years sober, but I was struggling to just feel worthy enough to deserve something better. I just, I don't want to say for whatever reason, a lot of women do this, but I was really bad about accepting breadcrumbs and not believing that I deserved the entire loaf, or even a piece of bread. Forget a loaf, a piece of bread. I was just eating crumbs. And so through my own healing, yes, I had to go through the 12 steps to get off of alcohol and to look at all the reasons why I did drugs. But I would say that having to go through the healing of codependency and finding my self-worth was harder, especially because having to be stone cold sober I was only 2 years sober. So it was all raw feelings. So because of that, it made me realize that I can't give people jobs and everything's going to be fine. I can't give them money. They can't just get sober. There's a whole nother layer to this of things they need to be prepared for, so it doesn't hit them upside the head like it's hitting me. And so I sat down in front of a camera, and it was all ad lib, and it was definitely a download. And so 12 hours later, I had a whole program of and I'd change into different shirts for every week and get the coffee cups because I wanted them to feel like I was walking a 12-week journey with them. But I couldn't do it over the course of 12 weeks because it was a download. Right now, I'm writing a book because I had such a download for it. And I've been I never even wanted to write a book. It's hard to even sit still that long. It's really usually whenever it's my own healing and what God has done. My recent healing, what God has done for me is I did end up getting the guy that chose me and put me first. I do have the whole loaf of bread now, but man, did I try to push it away.
Yeah.
And struggle with accepting peace and predictability and mistaking it for not having passion. And I just learned that true love isn't butterflies in your stomach, it's peace in your soul. And so
it's uncomfortable when you're not used to it.
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Now I have to actually be disappointed and shocked if he cheats on me. I'm not expecting it. It's a lot easier if you expect it and you knew he was going to do it.
I knew it. I do it. Yes.
Yeah. So now I have to set myself up for, it's like, if it happens, like, and I don't like feeling feelings. I'm an addict. So, but that's part of what love is, taking a risk.
It is. And what you just said resonates with me so deeply. And I know it will other people. And it's deeper than just the love connection, but it's also a lot of professionals and people entering the workforce are accepting breadcrumbs. Right. And so I love what you said. And it is deep because I've been down that same journey, finally found my, happy ever after, tried to push it away 1,000 times and it just kept sticking. And so I was like, oh, okay, this is what normal and peace looks like. No, I love that. Well, Cheri, this has been an honor to get to know you on a deeper level and the giftings that you've brought forward to the world. Just if you haven't heard it from anybody, just please let your sister on this side of the fence tell you thank you for following that lead and for, just being mindful and doing what's been gifted with you, because it is really, really blessing our community. And I just feel full of love after talking with you and what you're doing. So from me to you, from our community to you, thank you. We're so appreciative of what you do. Is there anything that you'd like to share with the audience that we didn't cover, or maybe how they can work with you and get in touch with you?
No, if you're looking for community and if you want to process some more feelings or just learn from others, if you go to cornbreadhustle.com, you'll find it by clicking on different links. But I have a Tuesday morning sober meetup every Tuesday at 7 a.m. and every Thursday night at 7 p.m. I have a meetup for just applying different practices to help you stay on track with your goals.
I love that. It just when I think there could not be more, you open the door and there's so much more. So again, thank you. Guys, if you haven't checked Cheri out, definitely go follow, and get in touch with this lady because she's going places and her empire is already here, but you guys will see it soon. Join us next time, and thanks for being here.